Very interesting case called chronic inflammation reaction syndrome. So an 18-year-old male comes into my office. What had happened, he had had a really bad reaction at track practice. He's running around the track, exerting himself, high intensity, and all of a sudden his entire face swells to where it's unrecognizable. He showed me a picture of it. Didn't look like him at all. People were freaking out, wondering what was wrong with him. So he went to the hospital and he was told he has chronic inflammation reaction syndrome. Isn't it nice how they tell you what things are that you're experiencing, as if that's supposed to be some sort of comfort to you? He was just given some steroids and an antihistamine and sent home. Things did calm down, but of course the parents are frantic and want to know what's going on, so they brought him in to see me. The mother was a patient of mine. So as we started asking questions, we learned that he was sick every 4 to 6 weeks since March of 23. I was seeing him on January 4th of 2024. His antibiotics were needed for the first time ever for strep. He got it twice, and he was sick a total of 8 times since March. So roughly once a month, just under once a month. He was also doing heavy exercise. He liked to cycle a lot, and I would say he was a bit underweight, and so therefore if he exercised too intensely, he wouldn't have a lot of reserves to draw from. He was also a little dismissive about his health and the seriousness of what was happening. Probably because as a protective mechanism, we don't want to think that we have something serious that we have to contend with when we're such a young person. We want to forget about those things and live life kind of the way we want to when we're younger, but none of us is invincible. We all have things we have to tend to. We all have some genetic issues that we have to address. And if we do the responsible things, we can address those just fine and live the lives we want to live and be perfectly healthy and happy. His sleep was also very restless. So of course we ran an electrical test on him along with many other tests, but I like to show you these. And this is what his first one looks like. It is an extremely volatile test, lots of purples. Purples on this test mean split. It means the energy on the right side and the left side of that particular organ has shifted. An organ's energy electrically, if it's under stress, should go up together or down together, but it should never split. That's a bad sign. So I knew what I was dealing with. I was dealing with a strong reaction from a fight or flight overload. Very, very common in my world and what I see. And of course, when the medical doctor sees something like this, they're going to do all the extensive tests that they need to do to make sure there's no diseases. Many times there are no diseases. This is a perfect case of what happens when we run out of nutritional fuel and the fight or flight system starts destroying and damaging the immune system, and you get very violent, volatile reactions. So how did he improve? By his next visit, which was just a month later, he said his energy was much better. His sleep was good. His stomach was on and off and worst around 10 or 11. So some slight progress, wasn't fixed yet. We still keep moving forward. He, of course, went on my powder. That was essential for him. It's what I've developed after seeing these sorts of reactions over 27 years. All the key ingredients that you need to fix each of those 12 major organ systems, all of these that are displayed on this chart right here, I put all of those ingredients into my powder. So he was going to get that because we had to address each of those systems all at the same time. Vitamin D to help calm the immune system. Dextrose. Dextrose is glucose that you can take as a supplement. So table sugar, for instance, is one molecule sucrose, is called sucrose. It's one molecule glucose, one molecule fructose. When fight or flight has been present for an extended period of time, for whatever reason, the body starts to have a difficult time processing and utilizing fructose. So I have found therapeutically it's much better to put in straight glucose in certain cases with people to make sure the brain is getting the immediate fuel that it needs, and so that we don't trigger additional hypoglycemic responses that flash fight or flight, make it continue and keep firing. So for some patients, I'll use a little dextrose. He needed to go on my gentle GI diet, which of course is a lot of protein, still some carbs, and a lot of cooked vegetables. Everything's cooked because we anticipate lots of inflammation in the digestive tract. We need the body to basically supply food in the macro level that's not difficult to digest and break down. So the digestive system can sit on the sideline, go on injured reserve, and just get healed up. We do that for 3 weeks or more, and then we move forward. He was also put on betaine HCl, which is hydrochloric acid. We needed to make sure that all the protein we were going to put in was being broken down efficiently. And then he was also put on a product to help his immune system. And then how did he progress subjectively here? He told me in March, so now we are 2 months in. Doing some medium weight training and cardio was hard to recover. Not surprised. His body was in extreme fight or flight. You're going to use your muscle as a fuel source, especially in a person that's underweight like this. He's going to burn up his own muscle to make sugar for his brain. So that was the other motivation for using that dextrose. I didn't want him burning up his muscle anymore. So I also didn't want him doing medium weight training and cardio yet. It was way too soon. He was supposed to be doing restercise from my book. But he's a young man, and of course, everything's feeling fine today, so I guess I'm back to normal. I can do what I want. No, you're not healed yet. His energy was still down, but he had not been sick, and he was getting sick every 6 weeks, so that was wonderful. Then at the end of April, no sicknesses. His energy was an 8 or a 9 mostly. And cycling season was coming soon. So he was asking me about that. Can I cycle? I'm feeling really great. Well, how great was he feeling? Here was his first graph. By the second visit, we had immense improvement. By the third visit, when he was doing his medium weight training, we actually slipped a little bit. You can see how there's a lot more green and much more balance on this test than there was on the next test. So he got a really stern lecture from me. Not really, I just told him to cut it out. And he did. He did a good job. And then he had his best test yet in April. So still a couple reds on the board, not perfectly balanced, but in just 3.5 months, we went from one of the lowest scores I've ever seen. This score was a 16 to a very strong and solid 82. When you get into the 80s on this test, you're doing pretty good. So in conclusion, I wanted to give you this case study and show you how extreme things can go out of balance. We see this a lot in younger people. They'll get the extreme reactions, but they'll also heal a lot faster because they're young and they're resilient and they have their hormones intact and they haven't been through as many stresses as you or I have. So we see the extreme negative and we see a swing to the extreme positive by following the simple rules in my book, 50 Fix Guidebook, taking my powder, some of the other supplement recommendations I offer in the book and on this website here. And so when you do those things, you greatly calm down the fight or flight response, you control adrenaline dominance, you get your health back, you address all systems all at the same time. Hope this was helpful.